For the last time of the 2022 regular season, my updated top 10 Major League Baseball power rankings. Let's start at number 10. Number 10, I have the San Diego Padres. The Padres are back in the power rankings after being out for a couple of weeks. They were in, then out, and then not playing well and looking like they could miss the playoffs. Well, guess what? The Padres are in the playoffs. They are making it. They are there. And in fact, they are playing pretty good baseball right now. Blake Snell, Yu Darvish at the top of that rotation looking really good. Juan Soto's heating up at the plate. So the Padres are good, and they are back in the top 10 and in the playoffs, 87-72. Congratulations for the Padres for making the playoffs. Let's move on to number 9 on my list. At number 9, the Cleveland Guardians. Guardians are 90-69. Now they have dropped down a tick from where they were last week. This is less about how they've played and more about how other teams have played. The Guardians are one of the most surprising, exciting teams of the year. The youngest team in all of baseball to reach that 90-win mark this year, to win the AL Central, to get into the playoffs has just been wildly exceeded expectations of where they were supposed to be this year. And those are always great stories. They're still playing well, but at this point, every team in the top 10 is a playoff team and playing well. So where you put one or the other is a matter of who I believe in more in the playoffs, really. And the Guardians come in at number 9 on that list. Let's move on to number 8. Number 8 on this week's power rankings, the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners, 87-71. They've won a couple games in a row heading into the new week. They are in the playoffs. They have ended the longest playoff drought in American sports, which is unbelievable. I just think, look, their playoff drought was old enough to drink. That says all you need to know. It no longer can. They're in the playoffs. It is a heartwarming story for all baseball fans. There aren't many people out there that see the Mariners in the playoffs and think, oh, no, not the Mariners. You watch Cal Raleigh hit that walk-off. You watch the crowd. You watch the players. You watch the emotion, and you just get all wrapped up in it and become a fan and want them to do well. The Mariners are a good team, and they match up well with a lot of teams on the American League side. So they are no slouch, and they are not satisfied with just getting in to the playoffs. Let's move on to number 7. Number 7, the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays can hit. The Blue Jays are 90-69, and they rake. Now, a lot of their problems come on the pitching side of things, but you look in a shortened playoff series, and if you can throw out there Alek Manoah and Kevin Gausman, well, that is pretty good, and that is what they are able to do. Now, bridging the gap to their dominant closer, Jordan Romano, that can be tricky. But offensively, great. Top end of the rotation, really good. Closer, really good. They have the pieces. It's just going to be a matter of how much can you rely on starters to go out there and get you innings in the playoffs when that's not typically something that happens. Typically what we start seeing in October is that panic button starting to get pushed, relievers coming in the 3rd or 4th inning. The Blue Jays cannot afford to play that game. They need their guys to go 6-7 innings minimum, and I don't know how likely that is throughout the whole stretch run of October. But if their offense is hot, they can outscore most anybody. They come in at number 7. Let's move on to number 6 in this week's power rankings. The St. Louis Cardinals, 92-67, and winners of the NL Central. What a great story this is. I've said this a couple times now. Are they the most dangerous team on paper in the playoffs? No, but do not get in the way of magic. And there is magic happening in St. Louis these days. We saw it with Albert Pujols in his last home game in Seattle. You have the farewell tour. You have the 2 MVP caliber guys on your team. You have Jordan Montgomery coming over from New York and being a stud. Who saw that coming? Now, is he going to be that guy in the playoffs? That's a different ball game. But again, don't mess with magic. And the Cardinals have some of that going on right now, on top of being a really solid baseball team. So they come in at number 6. Moving on to number 5. Number 5 is the New York Yankees, 97-61. What a year for the Yankees. What a roller coaster of a year for the Yankees. One of the greatest teams of all time for a while. Then one of the worst Yankees teams for the last 30 years for a little while. And then they turned it back on and have showed why they are and deserve to be the AL East champions in a division that turned out to be really good, aside from whatever happened to the Red Sox. But you had the Orioles above 500. The Rays are always good. The Blue Jays were good this year. So in a really good division, there was never a question all year long of who was going to win it. The Yankees dominated from the word go and are a bye in the playoffs, the number 2 seed, and sitting pretty as we speak. So the Yankees come in at number 5. Let's move on to number 4. For the first time in a couple of weeks, we have a little shift in the power rankings. The New York Mets coming in at 98-60. They lose the series to the Atlanta Braves. They have been neck and neck for months in the power rankings. I mean, really close. All it took was the Braves winning that series at home against the Mets to finally pass them. The Mets are the real deal. This Mets team is really good. You don't want to face them in the playoffs. The Mets are built to win in the playoffs. That's what their team's built for. You got DeGrom, you got Scherzer, you have Chris Bassett, who's really good as well. And then you have problems when you have to face those guys. And they can put up enough runs to win ball games as well. So the Mets come in at number 4. They are one of the game's elites and one of the teams that I believe has a true shot at winning the World Series. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3, the team I was just talking about, they finally hopped them, the Atlanta Braves, 99-59. The Braves win that series against the Mets. What a huge series that was. Everything this year seemed to be leading up to that series. We had been talking about it for months. They needed to win the series. They did win the series, and they proved that they can beat the Mets, and they proved that they can finally jump ahead of them in my power rankings, in which they did. Dansby Swanson was a hero in that series. Hit a home run in every single game of the series. Unbelievable. Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer, Chris Bassett, no problem for Dansby Swanson. What a stud. The Braves are here at number 3. Let's move on to number 2. Number 2, the Houston Astros. The Astros have the best pitching from top to closer in all of baseball, and it is by far the most underrated. Don't talk about it enough. The rotation, led by Justin Verlander, has been incredible. Framber Valdez all year long, really good. Lance McCullers, really good. Luis Garcia, Jose Urquidy, they've all been great. The bullpen has been the best bullpen in all of baseball, all year long for the most part. Middle of the pack last year, tops in all of baseball this year. Their pitching is great, and their hitting, well, they know how to hit in October. They will be a force to be reckoned with, as they always are in October. That leaves the number 1 spot, as it has been for a long time now, the Los Angeles Dodgers. What a year they have put together. One of the greatest seasons, one of the greatest regular seasons of all time. They will finish as a top 5 wins team in history, which is incredible to even say, and they do it all under the radar. I really feel like not enough people are imagine if the Yankees were sitting right now at 110 wins on the doorstep of, top 5 of all time in wins. It'd be a different conversation. But I don't think they get the love they deserve. Maybe it's that West Coast bias that John Heyman spoke of. I don't know. His words. I don't see it. I think it's an East Coast bias thing, but hey, it is what it is. The Dodgers are the best team in baseball. They have put together one of the greatest regular seasons of all time. But I will say this, regular season success means nothing if you don't get it done in the playoffs. And I've been saying this all year long. Dave Roberts goes out early in the year and says, we're winning the World Series. Then they put together the best regular season we've seen in a long time. You have to win this World Series. It's World Series or bust for this Los Angeles Dodgers team, and they certainly have the ability to do it. Can they do it? Well, we will see over the next couple of weeks. But they round out this week's top 10 Major League Baseball Power Rankings.